Hello and welcome to the Paycom Center here in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Dominic Miranda here alongside Eli Gain as we get you set and ready for the NBA Finals between the Indiana Pacers and Oklahoma City Thunder. It doesn't get old saying that, by the way. Can't believe the Pacers are here just the second time in franchise history. Game 1 is upon us, and we had Media Day today here at the Paycom Center, and we got to hear from all the Pacers players and, of course, head coach Rick Carlisle. Eli, what was your biggest takeaway? Because these guys are a locked-in bunch.
Yeah, well, once we got here, it was a complete madhouse. That's what media days will do when you're on your biggest stage. But the biggest thing was, and I think the biggest theme that was asked throughout the entirety of media day was being the underdog. Do you embrace it? What's going to be tough about protecting what they do against this Thunder team who's been very good all year? Mm-hmm. But it kind of came off as like, hey, no one's expecting you guys to win, so how are you going to what are you going to do about it? And I think they've had this same mentality throughout the entire postseason that's just been, unfazed.
Yeah, no question about it. Everyone thought the Cavs were going to run right through the Pacers. Everyone thought it was the Knicks here, run right through the Pacers. They've been doubted every single series. They've been road warriors every single series. Not many road losses at all during this postseason. And it's just interesting that the doubters continue to doubt the Indiana Pacers. No question about it. It's going to be a tall task against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Statistically speaking, this is one of the best teams we've ever seen. I mean, 68 regular season wins, one of the best, if not the best defensive team, along with being only the second best offensive team to the Indiana Pacers, it feels like, in most categories. So this is going to be an extremely fun matchup, but really, really challenging for the Pacers as well.
And you mentioned fun, and we keep talking about this idea of having the big market teams being on a stage like this. And now you have, the 37th market size in Oklahoma City, the 25th market size in Indianapolis, going head-to-head and going each for their first NBA championship. This is what casual basketball fans who are, they kind of just peek over the couch and watch a game from now and then, probably won't be too invested in this game. But I will say the people who do love basketball are going to love this matchup. You just mentioned everything. The defense versus the offense, the pace and the tempo from both teams is going to be awesome. And this building that we're in right now, I mean, if you've watched it, it gets a little intimidating from time to time, and it looks like with the shirts that are being set up, we're going to have a whiteout tomorrow night.
They do not lose often in this building, the Oklahoma City Thunder. The last Eastern Conference team to win in this building was who, Eli Gain?
That was the Indiana Pacers. That was March 12th of 2024.
That's crazy.
Technically, the Thunder have gone nearly 2 seasons without being beat in this arena by an Eastern Conference team. It's a phenomenal stat.
Really, really impressive by the Oklahoma City Thunder. And you mentioned it, too. These are two teams that built from within. They don't have superstars, right? It's really, really impressive what both these franchises have done. There's no question about that. And we talked about it. The Pacers embrace that underdog role. You go from the elation, the mountaintop of winning the Eastern Conference. You get over that hump and get back to the NBA Finals for the first time in 25 years. And you have every reason to celebrate. And that was quite the scene at Gainbridge Fieldhouse just a few days ago. But now you have to turn the page because you have one of the best opportunities, and they don't come very often, that you can win an NBA championship for the first time in franchise history. Eli, we heard a lot of guys talk about that shift and keeping it locked in for this series.
It's been another big theme throughout this entire postseason. Was every game that the Pacers would win, be a comeback victory, or so to speak, something historic. But every single time, it's Rick Carlisle approaching the podium and saying, "We're grateful. That was awesome." But it's day 1 of 13 in this series. So he knows he's an NBA championship coach. Right. He knows how the postseason works. He knows every single game. You need to win 16 of them if you want to hoist that trophy. It gets tougher each and every time, and they've overcome it every time.
It gives you a peek inside the mind of an NBA coach, how to get grown men ready for chunks of days at a time. It's really fascinating, actually, to break it down like that, and I imagine that's super helpful, keeping the main thing, and keeping focus. This is Rick Carlisle's 6th NBA Finals, 2nd as an NBA head coach. You remember he won against the big bad Miami Heat.
That's right.
Back in the day. That was awesome right there with the Dallas Mavericks. So this is a locked-in bunch, and enough. We'll stop talking here. We heard from a ton of Pacers on Media Day here in Oklahoma City. Take a listen on their mindset ahead of this NBA Finals series.
It's simply going to come down to us being able to play our game at the best possible level. We're going to need to take care of the ball because these guys turn people over at a historic rate, and we're going to have to make some shots.
Joe, up here in the front.
Hey, Rick. There's been some discussion this week about this being a small market finals, and the Thunder were just up there, said some really cool stuff about what it's like to play here. You've had this long career and lived and worked in massive markets and small markets. What do you find is the charm of coaching and working in Indianapolis?
You know, a lot of people talk about great places to live. When you have a good situation, you're working with great people, and your team is good, that's a great place to live. You know, and small market, big market, you know, it doesn't matter. I have such great respect for what Oklahoma is building here. I know Mark Daignault pretty well, and Sam Presti and I go way back. You know, I was invited to San Antonio's training camp in the fall of 2000 when I was headed into a year where I was going to take a year away, and ended up doing broadcasting stuff. But Sam Presti was an intern for the Spurs at that time, and I remember, you know. He is from the Boston area, so he had grown up a Celtics fan. So he actually remembered when I played, which was miraculous to me. It seemed like he was probably way too young for that. But we had a couple of dinners together, and you know, he asked me, you know, what can I do? I gotta somehow get a job out of this. I said, well, just become a guy that they can't live without, and Sam is a great demonstration of resourcefulness and you know, wherewithal and stuff like that, and he's forged himself a great career. He and Kevin Pritchard are two of the best franchise builders around, and so this series really should celebrate those two guys and their staffs and what they've done. But as far as the markets, you know, I understand that there would be concern for, you know, how many people would watch because they're smaller markets. But if we're celebrating the game and we're putting game above all, which was one of the things that Adam Silver said when he became commissioner, then it really shouldn't matter. You know, it really shouldn't matter. And so I know that we're going to do our very best to represent our city, our state, at the best possible level. You know, Thunder will do the same, but this really, hopefully, is about the quality of the games, and you know, we got our work cut out for us there.
On your right, second row, Tim.
Tim Reynolds, AP. Rick, if I may ask you to put your NBCA hat on, what was your reaction yesterday when you heard about Tom?
Yeah, I get asked frequently about these things, and I always say shocked, you know, and then sometimes you get numb and you're not shocked. But you know, the Knicks have such a unique situation with so much attention and such a large fan base and such a worldwide following. It's one of the most difficult jobs to take. The guys that have been most successful, you know, Red Holtzman, Pat Riley, Jeff Van Gundy, Rick Pitino had a short run, but a very effective run. And then, you know, there were a lot of lean years, and you know, Tibbs went in there and changed so much. And so you look at all that, and then what happened yesterday, and when I first saw it, it came over one of the, you know, I thought it was one of those fake AI things, you know, that there's no way, there's no way possible, you know. And I know how the players feel about him too. And so there's not much else to say. I mean, teams and ownership, can make these decisions unilaterally, and it's their right to do that. And so Tom will certainly be fine. I don't think he's going to have any problem finding his next job. It's just going to depend on when he's ready to jump back in again. But I have great respect for Tibbs. I go back with him a very long way, and so I was surprised.
One follow, as you gave the anecdote yesterday of driving from Lisbon to Ogdensburg, as probably the only other guy in the room who's been to both Lisbon and Ogdensburg. I feel like I can ask this.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, where you're from, guys don't go to the NBA. It doesn't produce NBA players.
Jimmy Howard had a great career as a goalie in the National Hockey League. He's from Ogdensburg.
Yes, but not the NBA.
No, it's.
Were you ever dissuaded when you were like, this is the path I want to go down? I want to play at Maine. I want to play at Virginia. I want to play big-time basketball. Did you ever think, no, I can't because nobody here has done it? How did you get past all that?
Well, one of my best friends growing up was a guy named Hal Cohen who played at Syracuse University, and he was the greatest player to ever come out of the North Country. He was 2 years ahead of me in high school, and he got a scholarship to Syracuse University. So he got a scholarship to a big-time basketball program, and I grew up playing with him all the time, competing, and it was one of the reasons that I ended up having a chance to get a Division I scholarship. I had to go to prep school to do it. I went to Worcester Academy for a year. University of Maine was my only Division I offer. Went there for 2 years, and then through a series of connections and relationships, was able to transfer to University of Virginia and play with Ralph Sampson for a year, and that changed my life forever. And had great coaching and a lot of things that were very fortunate, and ended up getting drafted by Boston in a round that no longer exists in the draft. And so a lot of things fell my way, but I worked hard too. But seeing Hal Cohen do that was something that gave a lot of people, a lot of guys in the North Country, a lot more belief about being able to go to higher levels, not just in basketball but other sports. And I think Jimmy Howard would be another example of that.
Time for a last question. Tanya in the back.
Tanya Ganguly, New York Times. There's so much discussion about who's the next face of the league. I've even seen it phrased as like an existential question for the league after Steph and LeBron retire. What happens? I was wondering what you think about to what degree that is imperative for the league, for the health of the league. Like, do there have to be a couple of guys that sort of the whole ecosystem revolves around?
Well, I having been drafted in 1984 in the midst of the Bird Magic explosion of the NBA, I think people would assume that it was Larry and Magic, and then it was Michael Jordan for a few years, and then but things are changing. The roster construction seems to be evolving in a slightly different direction, if not a pretty significantly different direction. And it's possible that there are always going to be stars, but identifying with teams may become more of a significant thing than just the star aspect of it. We'll have to see. It's such a dynamic business, and it's so quickly changing, and it can change on a moment in a moment, much like a playoff series can. But I just think the league is so healthy right now because there are so many great young players that have personality, that are such great promoters of the game simply by virtue of how they play the game, with their joy, with their love. It's it's moving away from an isolation league to really more of a team type game. Oklahoma plays that way. We try to play that way, and so time will tell. But LeBron James and Steph Curry, I mean, those guys are still they're still the gold standard, really. I mean, they're still it, and those guys have been absolutely beyond belief.
Thank you, Coach.
Jordan Davis with Oklahoma. Tyrese, first, it's kind of a two-part question. First off, how does it feel to actually finally be here at the NBA Finals? And then secondly, can you just detail the last 24 hours with you? I know that the plane got diverted from Tulsa because of the tornado. What was your reaction to that?
No, I'm excited to be here. Obviously, the finals is a very special thing and something I've wanted to be a part of, my whole life. And so to be here means the world. And I'm just taking it all in, soaking it all in, and really excited for this moment. As far as yesterday, we took off, and I slept the whole plane ride, which I don't normally do. And we landed, and I was ready to get up, and they said we were in Tulsa. We sat there for another hour, and then we took off again and felt like we were in the air again for another hour and a half. We didn't land here until what time we land, 7, which normally would be 8 back home. So it's a 5-hour travel day. We might as well just travel to Portland or something. But yeah, no, it was a long travel day. But what can you do? You can't. None of us can control the weather. There's worse problems in life. We'll be fine.
Jeff on the right side.
Jeff Zilgate, USA Today. Tyrese, you guys have faced some pretty talented point guards in the playoffs. You get another one here. I was wondering, when you watch Shea during the regular season, do you watch it as someone you might be competing against in a situation like this? Are you able to look at his game from purely I enjoy basketball perspective? And what are some of those thoughts you have when you do watch him play?
Yeah, I mean, I think all the above. You have to watch him and understand you're in the same league. So, of course, you're going to have to compete against him at some point. What he's been able to do this year has been amazing. He's an amazing player, the MVP of our league, rightfully so for a reason. And I think we're looking forward to the challenge of competing against him and this whole group for that matter. So it's going to be a lot of fun. They're a great team, well coached. He's an amazing player, and it's going to be a fun series.
Standing over here on the left.
What's up, man? Jerry McCain, NBA player correspondent. My question is, being a lead point guard in the NBA, how do you balance attacking the basket, being aggressive for yourself, but also managing passing to others and making sure everybody's involved?
Yeah, I think there's ebbs and flows to it. There's never a consistent right answer. I'm at my best when I'm obviously more aggressive, but I think every game calls for something different. And I'm not perfect. I have bad games, and I'll have a game where I shoot 5 shots and I pass the ball too much, and I'll have a game where I shoot too much and probably could have passed a little more. So there's no right or wrong answer, and I think the best thing to do is just learn from experience. And not like I'm a vet or OG or anything. I'm in year 5, but I just try to learn as much as I can from these experiences, to help me, as my career goes forward.
On your right, Mark Spears.
Mark Spears, ESPN's Landscape. Congratulations.
Appreciate it.
Just talk about what your dad has meant to you. I know he's gotten a lot of news in the other direction, but what has he meant to you in your basketball journey and also as a father?
Yeah, obviously my relationship with my pops is well documented. He means the world to me. He's been my biggest fan my whole life. My dad doesn't think that I can do any wrong. He thinks my whole life he's always said I'm the best. I'm going to be the best. And, we have a very close relationship growing up. My dad got laid off when I was in elementary school, so I lived down the road from the elementary and the middle school, and so I would make my dad drive me every day, and that was just how we connected. And then growing up, he started working third shift, so my only real time to connect with him was in the morning. We would watch Sports Center or whatever together in the morning before he would drop me off at school and sleep for the rest of the day until he had to ref or whatever the case was. So me and my dad are really close, and obviously that's well documented. I'm excited that he's going to be in the building, and the NBA has allowed him to be back in Indy as well. And I think that the commentary around my dad I think got a little ridiculous. And of course I'm going to say that I'm his son, and it got a little over the top. He was wrong, and that is what it is. And I don't think any of us want to be defined by our worst moments, and that's just sports media. Sometimes we just take a super good thing or a super bad thing and overblow it. And, you know, it is what it is. But he's learned from it, and, you know, it won't happen again. But love my pops dearly and really thankful that he's going to be in the building and, along with me on this journey.
Back left.
Michael Pina, The Ringer. Tyrese, what makes Alex Caruso such an effective defender on and then even more so off the ball?
I think he's just got a great basketball mind. He's got a really high IQ as a defender, and just as a basketball player in general, it seems like he's always in the right spots. And then I saw a Zach LaVine interview the other day where he called him like a crash dummy. He's just willing to put his body in so many different places and just do whatever it takes to win. And, you know, he's a great player. And, you know, my last couple of years having to deal with him in Chicago, I was glad he was out of our division, and here we are again. So definitely excited to compete against him and this whole team.
Tim on the right, the front.
Tim Reynolds with the AP. Tyrese, congrats on getting here.
Appreciate it.
When or if did you stop being fueled by doubters? You know, you were passed up a few times in the draft, obviously, and was it getting the second contract, Olympic gold medal? Like, has there been a moment where you're like, okay, I no longer have to be fueled by this stuff, or in some way, is that still a driving force for you?
No, I've never stopped. It'll never stop. That's just I think that's part of my drive. Obviously, I want to be the best. I want to be, I want to be great. I want to squeeze every ounce of God-given ability that I have to be the best player I can be. But any doubt is always good for me. I love to hear that stuff, and I'll continue to tell you guys in certain moments that it doesn't matter what people say, but it matters, and I enjoy it. I think the greats try to find, external motivation as much as they can, and that's something that's always worked for me. It doesn't I understand what you're saying. It doesn't solidify who I am. I know who I am. I don't need anybody to tell me who I am or who I am as a player or a person. I'm grounded in myself, and I think a lot of that is through, the Lord and Jesus and knowing who I am. But I think that extra doubt, that extra fuel always helps.
Over here, third row, center.
Deportes en Línea, Dominican Republic. What can you remember playing alongside Chris Duarte?
Great teammate of mine. Loved playing alongside him. A guy that I still have a relationship with to this day. And when I got traded here, he was a big part of helping me in my transition here. So, I got a lot of love for CD and his fam.
Vince?
Tyrese, right in the middle. Vince Gould, Yahoo Sports. Congrats on getting here. The two best teams with the best record since January 1st has been you guys in Oklahoma City, yet there's this decided advantage people see Oklahoma City having. You're one of the biggest underdogs in recent NBA Finals history. How do you see that? How do you take that? Do you see it that way? Do you see Oklahoma City being this great team that you're going to have to upset? How do you view this series based from 30,000 feet?
Yeah, they're a great team. They're historically great on both sides of the ball. They have the MVP. There's so many different things that you could name down the list of why they are so great at what they do and why they're such a great team. And, we know that this is a great team, and I wouldn't want to, if we were to win a championship, I don't want to win any other way. I don't want to go around or go over. I want to go through. You want to go through the best team. You want to go through the best challenge. So this is the best challenge, and this is the best team in the NBA. It's been the best team in the NBA all year, and they're well coached. They just do everything so well. So there's no shortcuts to beating this team. And we know the odds are stacked against us, but it is what it is. We want to be here. We want to play against the best, and this is the best. So we're looking forward to the challenge as a group.
Joe, final question right here.
Hey, Ty. You've talked about this before. Maybe it was when you signed your extension. But being from Oshkosh and then going through Ames, and now you're in Indianapolis, which is a small market. And you know that small market has been kind of a discussion this week. I guess within that light, can you describe, the charm or what you like about playing in Indianapolis?
Well, yeah. I'm from Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Town of like 70,000 people. There's nothing to do. I didn't have anything to do growing up. I stayed in the house or went to the local YMCA to play basketball, or went to the high school to play, or went to my park at Oakland Elementary, or whatever the case was. There wasn't a ton to do. So I just think in my life, I really feel like right now in my life, not I'm not talking about basketball, but like in the off season or whatever, I think I could live anywhere and be just fine. Like as long as I got my dog, my video game, and a court, like I'll be fine. So I just feel like being in Indy, like it's a great place for me, and it's like Indy is a much bigger place than I'm even accustomed to. And I know people say it's a small market or whatever the case is, but I'm not. I didn't grow up somewhere where it was much bigger, have more to do. So I love being in Indy. Indy's been a great place for me and my family. My whole family lives there now, so we love being there. It's a lot of fun for me. I don't need like the glitz and glamour of a large city or anything. I really like the I think maybe like hometown, like small town feel from our fans, right? Like I think OKC can relate to that as well. Like our home court advantages are different because people are really passionate about our teams, and their parents were passionate about the team, and their parents before that were passionate about the team. So I think that's like a different type of home court advantage or a different type of fan than like a bigger city, if that makes sense. So that's why I enjoy being a part of it, and why I want to be a part of it, for the rest of my career. I really enjoy, being a Pacer.
Thank you, Tyrese.
Hey, Pascal, how's it going?
Hello.
Scott Kamsel from The Score. Obviously, this will be finals appearance number 2 for you. I was curious if you see any similarities between the 2019 Raptors team and the current Pacers team you're on.
I feel like I've been asked this question a lot. I think you got to be a great team to get to the finals. I think it's 2 great teams, obviously different in a lot of ways, but also just some similarities in terms of just like playing the game the right way, having some level of defense, which ultimately gets to winning, and I think a mix of veterans and also young players, which I thought we had also back in 2019. So it's different in a lot of ways, but also some similarities.
Michael here in the front.
Michael Grange from Sportsnet, and a little bit on that theme. First of all, congratulations on that Eastern Conference Finals award. You were one of the young guys. Now you're a vet, and maybe do you find yourself kind of drawing on some of the experiences you had alongside Kawhi or alongside Kyle? Just as the playoffs get deeper and deeper, do some of those lessons resonate even more than they used to?
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think one of the things for me I learned, just from those guys is like no matter what. We just always felt like we had a chance, and when we got down, we're down 0-2 against Milwaukee. Like we've had a series where it was really tough, and we had to go in Philly and win games on the road, and I think all those experiences kind of definitely stays with me, and trying to transfer that spirit to my team in terms of being down or whatever in the game or whatever happens, just always playing the right way and understanding that you always have a chance. So that's something that I probably say I learned from those guys for sure.
5th row on the right.
Myron Patton, OKC Sports Radio. You guys got off to a slow start this season, 10-15, but at the beginning of the year really turned things around. What led to the big turnaround, and what are those things you think will help you in this series?
No, I thought, obviously starting the year, we didn't start the way we wanted to. We had a lot of guys in and out of the lineups, some injuries, some things, and I just thought we stuck to the plan. We just continued to be ourselves, and when we had everyone back healthy, we just started playing good basketball, playing together, defense improved, and just a lot of things that you need as a team to be able to be successful. So I thought we started rocky, but we just stayed steady and just kept being ourselves, and eventually, we got better.
Esper Heaney for NBA Daily. A lot of people are asking about the 2019 finals, but it's been 6 seasons since then, and I'm wondering for yourself, that journey that you've had from that first finals run to now this one, what have you learned about yourself and your game and how you've developed over the last 6 years? Yeah,
it's been an incredible journey, I would say. A lot of tough times for sure, and just learning from adversity. I thought it just wasn't kind of always pretty, which I think made me who I am. And just being in this moment now where I can just know that I've been through like almost everything as a player, and a lot of highs, a lot of lows, and that's just all makes the journey sweeter, you know. And for me, I enjoy all those moments, and it makes me just appreciate everything even more, and just play freely out there.
On your right, Mark Spears.
Mark Spears, ESPN's Landscape. How do you compare your journey and the amazing obstacles you made to get to the NBA versus what African players and the resources they have now? And also, what kind of role model are you for, aspiring African players to get to the NBA?
Yeah, no, it's been interesting. I think for me, coming in as a young player, like just not really having played any basketball really, having to learn on the fly, and I think like at that time it was mostly like when you was a big guy from Cameroon, you just came in and you was a big and you ran and you dunked, like that's pretty much what it was. And I think for me, I can see that evolving now, with guys my size being able to do different things, and now with the NBA going in Africa, like it's just so much more development, and guys are getting a lot better, and the skills are being learned early on, something that I had to do really late in my career. So it's evolving, and I hope I can be one of those guys that some young guys can look at and be like, look at his journey and the things that he's able to accomplish, and how he did it, and they can take it as an example. Like I really don't look at myself like, oh, I'm a role model or anything, but I just feel like you can look at my journey and be like, man, like he did it, and he did it the hard way, and there was no shortcuts, and someone that gave everything, just worked hard, put his head down, and no matter the obstacles, and he just kept working, and I think that's something I want to tell young players. It's not going to be easy. Nobody's going to give you anything. You're probably going to have less opportunity because you come from where you come from, and as long as you understand the odds against yourself, and that you just go out there, no nonsense, you just work on your game, I think you can accomplish big things. So I hope that they can look at my journey and be like, yeah, that's someone that did it that way.
Over here on your left, third row.
Jamal Collier from ESPN. I got two quick ones for you, Pascal. The first one about your relationship with Tyrese and just how you've seen that grow and develop in the year and a half since you've been here.
Yeah. No, it's been great. I said I remember when I first got here, and we got on the phone, we talked, and there was just like a mutual understanding about just what we want to accomplish. It's all about winning, and for me, I was just kind of excited that we have that same mindset. We just didn't care about nothing else but winning, and I think that's something that draw us to each other, and just for me, just being that presence that he can have, someone that he can talk to, that's been in these situations before, and for me as a player, being out there with someone that's selfless and just plays the game the right way, and it feels great, he's a great person to be around, and also a great player to play with, and I think that's our relationship has been growing, and we definitely have the same mindset.
And then just you guys haven't lost back-to-back games since March, and I think Tyrese has said a couple of times that the film sessions in between can get like pretty brutal, pretty honest, sort of pointing out mistakes. Just what are those film sessions like with Rick Carlisle after a loss? Kind of what do you think makes him so good at making adjustments?
I mean, I think we just look at ourselves. It's like the film is there; it doesn't lie, right? So you look at it and you see what you can do better, and just being honest about what we need to do to get better. And I'm glad that the guys been able to just turn the page on whatever has happened before and just move on.
Last two. It's third row over here on the right, and second row.
Hey, Pascal. Vince Goodwill, Yahoo Sports. You and the Pacers and the Thunder have the two best records since January 1st, yet the Thunder are a decided favorite in this series. Do you look at them as this historically great team, this huge undertaking and challenge, or do you see this as more of a series that's evenly matched? Like, how do you view this coming in?
I think we focus on ourselves. Like, I think I don't think we expect anyone to pick us, and that's been like that the whole playoffs. It's been like that the whole season. So I think for us, nothing really changes. We just continue to be ourselves, focus on us, and it's always been us against everyone, so it doesn't change.
Last one on your right.
Alexandre Tournier de RDS, question en français pour toi, Pascal. Qu'est-ce que ça te fait d'être de retour dans la finale pour la première fois en 6 ans? Et à quel point ton expérience de 2019, justement, va être bénéfique pour toi cette année?
Ouais, ça fait très plaisir d'être revenu à ce stage-ci. Je me rappelle, j'ai des très belles mémoires de 2019 et de ce qu'on a pu accomplir à Toronto et avec mon équipe. Donc, ouais, ça fait très plaisir de revenir à ce niveau-ci. Et aussi de savoir que, ouais, pour mon équipe, c'est un plus d'avoir quelqu'un qui est déjà arrivé à ce niveau-ci, qui a déjà vu tout ce qui se passe. Donc, ouais, ça fait très plaisir d'être ici. Et puis, on espère que ça va nous aider en équipe.
Thank you. Miles Turner will be right up. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Oh, appreciate it, man.
Regardless of the outcome of the finals, how do you want this team to be remembered for?
I want people to see our play style and be inspired. You know what I mean? We don't have it's not like we have 2 or 3, superstars on one team. We thrive off of ball movement. We thrive off of playing together. And I don't know, I just want them to have that feeling that, you can achieve anything through unity.
Tomer on the right, second row.
Tomer Zarli with Clutch Points. Miles, congrats on getting here.
Thank you.
I'm curious about Tyrese. He's such a unique player with his, whether it's the shot or his ability to take care of the ball. What's the thing that's impressed you the most about him over the years that you've been with him now?
What's impressed me the most with him is how he carries himself. I think that obviously he's a very confident person. He puts his full personality on display. But for someone as young as he is and someone who just got thrust in a position, he got a lot of stuff coming up real fast. Whether it was the Olympic gold medal or the All-NBA shoe deal, whatever you want to call it. Like, it takes a lot to be the man. Everybody sees the glitz and the glory, but some tough days. And I think he's handled himself really well.
Stay on the right, Alvaro on the third row.
Alvaro Martin of Ritmo. In terms of your team's passing and ball movement, you mentioned, and you're the longest tenured Pacers you will remember. Under McMillan, the team passed, but it didn't stand out as a great passing team in terms of the number of passes per game. Mm-hmm. Then Nate Bjorken came in 2021, and the team got turbocharged. You were second in the league. Mm-hmm. And then Rick came in and kept you third, second, or first in the league in his years, where his last 4 teams in Dallas were 7th worst.
Yeah.
Tell us how philosophically you felt the imprint of first Nate, then Rick, and then what it took for you, particularly you in your position, to be part of this flow.
Yeah, Nate's team was a little different because we had, I think it was more of an ISO team. You know what I mean? Yeah, we passed the ball, but we had more like isolation players, if you will. And I think that's where we thrived a little bit more. Then when Nate B came in, I think that he came from that Toronto Raptors system where they thrived off of just junkyard dog or junking the game up. So we would just try so many different, I don't know if you call them sets or actions, whatever you want to call it, but we wreaked havoc on defense and that was able to supercharge our offense. And now with Rick, Rick was a coach that he used to like to call play every single possession. Even Rick's first year here, we had a game where he did that. He stopped us and called a play every single possession. But in the dawn of this new NBA, and especially in the playoffs, that stuff doesn't work. It's easy to scout. But when you have random movement on offense and guys that are someone like Tyrese who's head of the snake who wants to pass the ball, it makes the game a little bit easier, especially for a guy like myself who thrives with space.
Standing on the right, Dan.
Dan Devine, Yahoo Sports. Miles, congratulations. The challenge of this Oklahoma City defense, where it seems like they can kind of be whatever they need to be on any given possession. They can cross-match a small onto you. They can put a big on your smalls. They can play straight. They can play zone. When you know that there's like a full menu like that available to them, how does that impact your preparation for what you guys need to be able to do offensively?
Well, the fact that they play similar to us, we've been seeing that every day since training camp. You know what I mean? I realize that this is a different stage, this is a different team, but we prepare and train so hard for moments like such. So, yeah, we know that where they have their calling card, whether it's swarming the ball defensively or, wreaking havoc, as you call it. But at the same time, when you prepare that way and when you go into battle that way, nothing is really new. So, again, it's going to be an adjustment period. You got to get your baseline, game one, and you take it from there. But, again, I think we're looking forward to the challenge.